This is Math 2 11.1 homework questions. That's Math 2 Unit 11 Lesson 1 homework questions. And this is the worksheet I handed out in class last Friday. And we did it together, but some people were absent, so I'm going to go ahead and post this here for those, or if you just needed to see a few of them again, they are here. Okay. First set, find the value of C in the expression that completes the square where C equals blank. Okay, so if you remember in notes, when you're completing the square, you find that blank by taking the middle number, that's the B value. You take that middle number, you cut in half, and you square it. 12 cut in half is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. That is your first answer. And then it says to write in factored form, double bubble, x times x is the x squared. We know the two signs have to be the same. The neighbor says they are both plus. And we need two numbers that are exactly the same to multiply to 36. That's going to be 6 and 6. And when you do inside outside, it does give you the 12x in the middle. So we write it as x plus 6 quantity squared. That is our second answer. Okay, I'm going to jump to number 3. Once again, we take the middle number, the negative 6, cut in half and square it. Negative 6 cut in half is negative 3, and negative 3 squared is 9. And we look at the signs. We know they have to be, oh, this is our first answer. We know the two signs have to be the same, and our neighbor tells us that they are both negative, and these two numbers have to be exactly the same and multiply to 9, so that's 3 and 3. And if you do your inside and outside, you do get negative 6x, so it's x minus 3 quantity squared. Okay, number 4, same thing. Take the middle number, cut it in half, and square it. 2 cut in half is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. That's your first answer. And then you factor. We know that the two signs have to be the same. We look at the neighbor. The neighbor tells us they're both positive. We're looking for two numbers that are exactly the same that multiply to 1. 1 and 1. And if you do 1x and 1x, you get the 2x in the middle. So x plus 1 quantity squared is your factored form. All right, I'm going to move on to sum at the bottom. I will do number 8. You want to write the following function in vertex form by completing the square and then find the vertex. And we did these in notes. You add 26 to the other side. And I get, these two are not like terms, so I get y plus 26 equals x squared minus 10x, and then I put my plus blank on each side. Just like these plus blanks here, I do that, but now on both sides because there's an equal sign, and what I do to one side, I must do to the other. What's nice is I find it the same way. I take it, I cut in half, and I square it. Negative 10 cut in half is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. And what I add to one side, I must add to the other. Okay, so then that gives me y plus 51 equals. And now I am going to factor this just like we did previously. X into x, I know the two signs have to be the same. The neighbor tells me they are both negative. Two numbers that multiply to 25 that are exactly the same, 5 and 5. And if you do your inside outside, you do get the negative 10x, so x minus 5 quantity squared. And then we wrote notes. We actually wrote steps for this in our notes, and the last step was to move the constant back over to the other side. Y equals the quantity of x minus 5 squared minus 51, and that's your answer for vertex form. Y equals x minus 5 quantity squared minus 51. Opposite of the inside, outside stays the same, so it is positive 5, positive 51. I'm sorry, negative 51. Opposite of the inside, so that's where the positive 5 is coming from, and outside stays the same, so that is the negative 51. Okay, that is it for that problem. Let's move on to the back and do some from the back side. Okay, let's pick one. Which one shall we do? Let's try 14. Okay, I am going to add the 4 over to the other side. Again, these steps are in your notes. These are not like terms, so I'm going to write it as y plus 4 equals x squared minus 2x plus blank plus blank. What I add to one side, I must add to the other, so I put blanks. Take the middle number, cut it in half, and square it. Negative 2 cut in half is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. And what I add to one side, I must add to the other. That gives me y plus 5 equals, and then I double bubble. I know it's going to be x and x. And I know my two signs have to be the same. The neighbor tells me they are both negative. These two numbers have to multiply to 1 and be exactly the same. So 1 and 1. And if you do your inside-outside, you get your negative 2x. So I'm going to write that as x minus 1 quantity squared. And again, if you look back at your notes, the last step was to move the constant back over, giving you y equals x minus 1 quantity squared minus 5. So that's your vertex form. Y equals x minus 1 quantity squared minus 5. Vertex is positive 1, negative 5. All right, I hope that helps. That's it for these homework questions.